Broadcasting live from a retard French nerd's basement, it's Benzai's Top 5.
Oh, thank you guys.
You suck! Twilight Princess was awesome, man!
I love you too. Greetings and welcome to Benzai's Top 5, the last show I think that's gonna happen in this room. Because I'm moving. God, I'll miss you, tiniest bathroom in the world. Since you guys seem to enjoy so much my Twilight Princess video, I decided to give you my thoughts on one of the most revered action game of the last generation. Now, everybody's entitled to his own opinion, but when it comes to Resident Evil 4, there's nothing else but the truth that this game is just an absolute piece of shit. And here's 3 reasons why. Oh, by the way, Ashley is not going to be number 1 or number 3 or not even number 2. Really, that's the least of my problem with this game. Number 3. The simple frustration of not being able to play the early build of the game. I mean, look at this! Now this is what I call survival, and it even reinvented its own genre. If you compare it to the previous Resident Evil title, this was bringing something new to the table. In the first trailer, you even felt hopeless against the evil surrounding you. What I really liked when I first saw this trailer was that it came back to a sort of haunted house kind of game. But this time the threat felt more spiritual, and the game really seemed to cash on your actual fear. This game actually gave me faith that you could have both tank control and over-shoulder view, and the slow pace actually gave it purpose. The flashlight-based gameplay of course was kind of borrowed from Alone in the Dark 4, but it seemed to be what Resident Evil needed actually to reinvent itself while staying true to its identity. I could talk a lot about this build that nobody ever played, but really, when you just watch this, you know what I'm talking about. This looks freaking awesome. Of course, it kinda looks like Silent Hill. Who the fuck's gonna complain on that? It looks like survival horror. To tell you the truth, the E3 trailer, when they actually showed what kind of game Resident Evil 4 would actually end up being, meaning this action game with peasants and trolls and Lord of the Rings enemies, I was so shocked, and my brother too, they even told me, dude, it's an April Fool's Day, real. That's not gonna happen. They're doing that, but they really are developing the kick-ass survival horror we've seen 2 months ago even. And they're bringing the real Resident Evil 4, but it's just for April Fool's Day. Call me stupid, but I believed it up to the point I actually bought the game. I was that hopeful. Kinda like that rumor that I believed for a while that the Dragon Ball Evolution movie was actually a fake movie that was being made and produced while they were making a really kick-ass Dragon Ball Z movie in secrecy, so much so that they produced an entirely different movie just to keep the media's attention. And I believed it. I'm stupid. Number 2. The gameplay. Subtitling from survival to Serious Sam. By the way, don't try to tell me that this game set the standard for the action games to come for the next decade. Because it didn't. Really, when you play the game, it pretty much plays like this. It was painful, silly, sluggish, and inconvenient. Oh, but I forgot, it's so cool because at some point there's this village rampage going on and you have to protect yourself, and people come out of the windows but that's only twice in the game. Look at it. Look at how the game is built. You do this thing in the village at the very beginning of the game. It's pretty cool. It looks good on the trailer. And then, what do? You have fucking corridors filled with enemies and no other purpose than either blast your way through the room or just kill everybody in sight. Now that's what I call false advertisement, because from the trailer it even seemed that you had this almost semi-sandbox gameplay about zombie crawling at you and coming after you and chasing you, but this is just a scam, people. This only happens in the first level. For 5 minutes. Now let's mention backtracking. Part of the fun of the first Resident Evil game was backtracking. Really, figuring out your way through a fucking massive open area Sure, Resident Evil 3 was more streamlined, but 2 was a bit like that too. Same for Code Veronica. My point is that backtracking here is pretty much non-existent. No, seriously, the only time when you actually backtrack, it's because the game tells you to do it. That's like saying that Metroid Fusion has backtracking, whereas it really doesn't. It's the game that tells you, go here, go there, go here, go there, go here, go there. Oh, that's the same location. You got backtracking there, dude. No, it's a scam once again. You never have to figure out something for yourself. Ever. So I gotta say, it's pretty cool that you can shoot zombies in the feet so like they fall down to their knees. So you can German suplex them. German suplex zombies! For fuck's sake. Or what about punching them in the face? Does that sound Resident Evil to you? Or does that sound like the latest Jackie Chan / Jet Li movie? Not even that, because they're not fighting fucking zombies with their bare hands, because it's not that fucking stupid, unlike Resident Evil fucking 4. And seriously, this. Do I even need to explain that? It makes fun of itself. And how about QuickTime events? They were pretty new in Shenmue, and in Resident Evil 4 they actually implemented it with an action scene so you could never tell whenever you would have to press a button or not. But how fucking lazy it is to just speed up an animation like that. Look closely, you see that Leon is never outrunning the rock because pressing the button also makes the rock roll faster. How fucking lazy! How are you supposed to take the threat seriously when this looks like the Benny Hill show? But let's say you really enjoy and have no problem playing a Resident Evil game where you just have to dodge fucking fireballs coming at you from catapult in a medieval castle, and you enjoy this kind of Serious Sam-like action game. Let's say you really fucking enjoy that. Were you still expecting to ride a fucking jet ski, for fuck's sake? That's the last thing you do in the game after fighting a giant enemy crab. It's like the game is trolling you to the very last second. Let's move on. Number 1. I guess you guys already understood that to me Resident Evil 4 was a constant betrayal of the series, and it kept on and on and on all the way through the game up to the very last point where you fucking ride a jet ski. And I'm gonna shut up about this. But let's just see to what ridiculous extent they did that. A big reason why the Resident Evil games were so special to me is that for one of the first time in my life, I played a game that felt like a movie. Not just in terms of like the graphics or voice acting, which is ridiculous, I will give you that. But for example, like the enemies would never respawn. You couldn't walk over them. You couldn't just loot off enemies some money or whatever. There was a relative realism in the action, as to you are not able to do anything fancy like jump or dodge. The best you could do is just like slalom around the enemies, but that's about it. It felt like you were playing actual human beings. And in that sense, the threats felt genuine because you could rely to the character. And also, the items you could pick up were discreetly placed in the background. And when you play Resident Evil 4, they should have put a disclaimer saying, fuck all this. What I really liked with the first batch of Resident Evil games is that most of it made sense. It was believable and coherent. Especially as a teen, this game was very convincing. In Resident Evil 4, what do you get? Fucking teleporting zombie merchant. Does it make sense? No. Is it explained? No. How about crows in this game? They're carrying grenades, for fuck's sake. You can just flashbang them and they will drop grenades. I can tell you that when I first played this game, I was very excited because you could aim very precisely. So of course I would try to shoot people in the head, right? And what do we get when we do a headshot? Ow, that's me, not cool, man. Just what is in Leon's gun? Paintball? To me, the first batch of Resident Evil game has an agenda of making it feel like the next level of video gaming. This is serious fucking business. It's not gonna be like collecting sacks of gold, which you do in Resident Evil 4. You don't have treasure chests appearing just because you beat an enemy. That's it. That's my main problem. The game feels like a video game. Let's have gold coins. By the way, fucking pesetas. You know, they should be using euros, right? And if anything, pesetas never came in the form of fucking sacks of gold. Now how about that time when you have to kill 2 fucking giant trolls that are straight out of the Lord of the Rings movies by throwing them into a lava pit? Is that convincing to you? Does that sound like the kind of bullshit you would only see in a fucking video game? And that's my point! It might sound like I'm just bashing this game because now it's popular, but I swear that the first time I played this game, I killed my first enemy, and that a fucking beam of light was coming out of the ground just to tell me a sack of gold had dropped, I lost it. And if I hadn't paid 60 euros to buy this game, I would have said fuck it. Because of course, in the final act, you're fighting military zombies wielding miniguns in sequences that would put Modern Warfare to shame. So my point mostly is that Resident Evil 4 is fucking retarded and infuriating if you were expecting something else. And of course you were expecting something else after seeing trailers like this one. But is it a good game overall? Yes! But bottom line is, shut the fuck up about Resident Evil 5 being the worst episode of this series, because considering the massive cult following and praises RE4 gets, this sequel is the one fans asked for. If I was working at Capcom, I would be really surprised as to why the fuck didn't people like Resident Evil 5. As this one is definitely a true sequel to Resident Evil 4, whereas 4 was the true sequel of absolutely nothing. Now, Mercenaries 3D for 3DS, now that is declined. But thanks for just watching me letting that out of my chest. Tune in next time when I will tell you why Shenmue is fucking No, I'm kidding. Shenmue was in my top 5 games of the past decade. I couldn't bitch about this baby. Or could I?